So I'm here about to present an ethical issue about the problem of abortion and the doctrine of the double effect by Philippa Foot. So the ethical issue at the center of the problem of abortion and doctrine of the double effect by Philippa Foot is the moral permissibility of abortion and the application of the doctrine of the double effect in resolving moral dilemmas related to abortion. Abortion is a complex and continuous topic that raises questions about the rights of the pregnant woman and the moral status of the fetus and the circumstances in which abortion can be considered morally justifiable. The ethical issue involves weighing conflicting interests and values, such as the woman's autonomy and right to make decisions about her body versus the potential rights and value of the unborn fetus. So the context of Philippa's Foot is within the framework of the doctrine of the double effect, a moral principle that aims to address situations where an action may have both positive and negative consequences. The problem of abortion and the doctrine of the double effect allows for the permissibility of an action that has an unintended harmful effect if certain conditions are met, such as the intention to achieve a good outcome and the harm being a side effect rather than a means to the desired result. Philippa Foot examines the application of the problem of abortion and the doctrine of the double effect in the context of abortion, particularly in cases where the life or health of the pregnant woman is at risk. She argues that if an abortion is performed with the intention of saving the mother's life, the death and the fetus can be seen as an unintended consequences rather than an intentional harm, I mean. According to Foot, this could potentially justify the permissibility of abortion in these circumstances within the framework of the problem of abortion and the doctrine of the double effect. So my own stance about this issue is the paper, or I mean the readings, raises important ethical questions about the moral status of the fetus, the balance and right values, and the application of ethical principles like the problem of abortion and the doctrine of double effect in resolving moral dilemmas surrounding abortion. It prompts a critical examination of the various factors and considerations involved in determining the permissibility of abortion and the role of intention and unintended consequences in ethical decision making. So, the criticism and problem of the doctrine of the double effect and Foot's arguments is the following. First is moral status of the fetus. One of the primary criticisms raised against Foot's application of the doctrine of the double effect to abortion is the question of the moral status of the fetus. Opponents argue that the fetus has a right to life, and intentionally causing its death, even as unintended consequences, cannot be morally justified. They contend that the fetus should be afforded the same moral consideration as any other human being, and intentionally causing harm to it, even for a good outcome, is morally wrong. Balancing rights and autonomy. Critics argue that Foot's focus on the rights and autonomy of the pregnant woman in cases where her life is at risk neglects the right and value of the fetus. They contend that the moral dilemma lies in balancing the rights and value of the fetus. They contend that the moral dilemma lies in balancing the rights and well-being of both parties involved by prioritizing the woman's right to life over the fetus' right to life. Opponents argue that Foot's argument fails to adequately address the moral complexities and conflicting interests at stake. While the third one is slippery slope argument. Another criticism raised against the doctrine of the double effect applied to abortion is the concern of a potential slippery slope. Critics argue that by allowing abortion in cases where the mother's life is in danger, it creates a precedent that could be expanded to justify abortions for reasons other than medical necessity. They contend that once the moral threshold is crossed in certain cases, it becomes challenging to establish clear and consistent boundaries for the responsibility of abortion and potentially leading to a devaluation of fetal life. Fourth one is the moral responsibility and causation. Some critics question that the moral responsibility and causal distinctions made within the doctrine of the double effect. They argue that regardless of the intentions of the person in performing the abortion, they are still causally responsible for the death of the fetus. This perspective holds that the outcome of an action is relevant to assessing moral responsibility and that intentional or foreseeable harm to the fetus cannot be morally justified. Last but not the least, alternative ethical frameworks. So, critics of the doctrine of the double effect argue that there are alternative ethical frameworks that can better address the complexities of abortion, such as right-based approaches or the consideration of the fetus, potential future, and well-being. They contend that Foot's focus on intention and consequences fails to adequately capture the full moral landscape of the abortion debate. It is important to note that these criticisms reflect ongoing debates surrounding the abortion ethics and do not necessarily invalidate Foot's arguments or the doctrine of the double effect. Ethical discussions on this topic remain complex and multifaceted with a wide range of perspective and arguments from both proponents and critics. So my argument justifying my stance. Others may have reservations about the doctrine of double effect when applied to abortion. They may contend that the moral status of the fetus should be given greater consideration and intentionally causing its death, even as an unintended consequence, cannot be morally justified. These individuals emphasize the inherent rights and value of the fetus, arguing for its protection and prioritizing the preservation of life. Furthermore, critics may question the practical implementation of the doctrine of double effect in determining the permissibility of abortion. They may argue that establishing consistent criteria for its application can be challenging and that it may open the door to a slippery slope where the reasons for abortion extend beyond medical necessity. Ultimately, the problem of abortion and the doctrine of the double effect remains a continuous ethical issue, and individuals hold a variety of perspectives based on their personal beliefs, values, interpretations of the available ethical frameworks. So, this is my possible reply. First is, Philippa Foot's exploration of the problem of abortion and the doctrine of double effect provides a thought-provoking perspective on the moral complexity surrounding abortion. Her application of the doctrine of the double effect to abortion cases where the life of the pregnant woman is at risk raises important considerations. By distinguishing between intention and unintended consequences, Foot offers a framework to navigate morally challenging situations. However, it is crucial to critically examine the moral status of the fetus and the potential implications of prioritizing the mother's life over the rights of the unborn. The paper invites further debate and reflection on the ethical dimensions of abortion and the applicability of the doctrine of the double effect in addressing this continuous issue. So my possible reply second is the problem of abortion and the Doctrine of Double Effect by Philippa Foot delves into the ethical intricacies surrounding abortion and offers the doctrine of the double effect as a potential framework for resolving moral dilemmas. Foot's focus on intention and unintended consequences provides a nuanced approach to understanding the permissibility of abortion in cases where the mother's life is at risk. However, the reading or paper raises valid criticisms regarding the moral status of the fetus and the potential slippery slope that may arise from employing the doctrine of the double effect in the context of abortion. It reminds us that ethical discussions on abortion require carefully consideration of multiple perspectives, including the rights and values of both the pregnant woman and the unborn fetus. And that's all. Thank you.